What's up, ball cap? Where's the ball cap?
Yeah, I decided to switch it up a little bit. How are you tonight, Dean?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Man, it is so good to see you, brother. It is so good to see you. How you been?
I've been all right. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. People won't know him. Oh, they're killing me. They're killing me. They're already saying WT says hello.
I'm almost wondering if I should go get a ball cap, but we're gonna
Oh,
rock with it.
dude, you do your thing, brother. You're good. Yeah, hey, you just do your thing. You don't even worry one bit about it.
Ali, WT, how are you guys? How is everybody?
People are happy to see you, brother. I have got more people that have reached out to me excited about this interview just because we've missed you. We really have. It's so good to see
Are
you.
you kidding me? That's it's very flattering. I honestly can say that that's something that I was not expecting.
Well, you can. I would never lie to you. There have been so many people that have been reaching out that have just been like, "Hey, we're talking to Ball Cap. I'm so excited about that. I can't wait to hear an update." You're blowing minds in the chat. I love it, Trey. Man, that's not Ball Cap.
It's very much me.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, brother, thank you so much for making time. I won't. I know that it's late and you got a lot of stuff going on, so we'll hop into it, man. But first off, thank you so much for, gosh, thank you so much for being here. And I know it's been a while, and I know that you've had a lot of good, a lot of life things going on, and so I just kind of wanted to start off by just saying, what's been going on, brother? Give us an update. How you been?
Well, first of all, Dino, thank you for having me on. And again, I couldn't be more pleased with who's taken over this podcast broadcast thing, other than my good friend here, who's, I think, going to take this to the next level. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's weird being on this side, not asking the questions. So, I will do my best, but things have been going well. I couldn't honestly tell you the last time I was on a live stream, but I was fortunate enough last month to get a job. I became an operations manager again, so I'm not struggling financially anymore, making some pretty good money now. And got moved into my own place, so I'm out of the hotel. And Siren and I are still doing our thing, and I've kind of put a halt on selling the fragrances just because I don't need to now. I've still got maybe 175 in my collection, but yeah, that's what's been going on.
Man. Well, first off, I am so damn excited to hear that. Like that, nothing makes me happier than to hear that, because I know we were all rooting for you. We were kind of hoping, like, man, we know this tide's going to change. Someone's going to realize the value this guy brings to your, the work life and what you do. But man, it is just so good to hear that fortune is turning up in the right way. Because man, karma. Sometimes you wonder, right? Like you think about your life and you're like, man, you see so many people who, get breaks. You're like, man, that guy doesn't need another break. And then you see people that are like, man, this guy needs a break. Like, come on, karma. Like, let's make this happen. And I can see everybody in the chat, man. It is awesome.
I'll tell you what, I don't know where people sit in terms of spirituality, but I can tell you that when you're not down to your last breath and you're making your prayer list, I highly recommend that you do not pray for patience, because that's exactly what you will get tested on. So instead, know that you're going to land the position, know that you're going to be in a better place, know that it's coming to you, manifest it. Siren kind of taught me this stuff, and it's rubbed off on me quite a bit, so a lot of credit goes to her. But good things come to people if they know that it's going to come to you. So that's the best lesson I can give you. Now, to be fair, it has been a very struggling job market, and there's a lot of people out there that are having really hard times. So this has been, even though it was a tumultuous time, it really allowed me to put things in perspective and appreciate what I had, the people I had it with, and now my trajectory moving forward and what I can do to help others.
Dude, I just love it. I mean, you and this, I was so looking forward to this. I can't even tell you. Like I said, you can see it in the chat. It's not. I know you're blown away by it, but I mean, so many people have been wondering what you've been up to, and it is just so refreshing to hear where you're at, brother. And but I have to ask because it's got to be weird. So, how is it being back in the job? Like being back in a regular job, kind of learning that and kind of going through that all that stuff again. I mean, how's that been for you? Has it been a breath of fresh air, or has it been kind of like, wait a second, what am I doing now?
um, I've got 25 years of management experience under my belt, so stepping back into corporate wasn't a big paradigm shift for me, to be honest with you. The one thing that is taking a little bit longer than it would have if I was younger is just learning the processes that come with the job, whichever job it is that you're getting into. I had such a narrow-minded vision of fragrances for a long time. So when I got back into corporate after dedicating about a year and a half into fragrances, for me to sit there and not have answers like I did in my live stream like this came as a bit of a shock to me. And on top of that, I'm not getting asked the questions like, what is my favorite JPG when I'm at the office? So to try to shift that
If I could find out, I'm just if I could find out who you work for and I could find an employee of yours, I would pay them $100 just to come up to you and ask a question just to see what you do, just to try to mess with you sometimes.
Now, I will say this, in the 3 weeks I've been there, I have been asked 3 times what fragrance I am wearing, and I have been complimented 3 times. So there's that.
I freaking love it. I love it. So there are some new people here that may be in the chat here. First off, any of you guys in the chat, thank you for the roses. Thank you for the heart me's. Appreciate you guys for being here. Please keep tapping the live, help us out there. Please share it out. We want a lot of people. There's a lot of people out here that want to know what's going on with Ballcap. So make sure you share it out so we get more people in here. It'd be really great and we're recording this too, Ballcap. So this is going to go on the tube of you later so that all those people,
I love it.
So all those people that want to catch up that maybe can't make it, because of different things, they'll be able to catch up on it and see what you're up to and hear all the good news.
Now, I'm not saying this is a plug to try to drive more people in here, but I'm doing this because I love Dean. I love him. Joe's a great guy. We've been friends for a little while now, and I really appreciate what he's done to take on this podcast and turn it into his, which is exactly what I wanted to see him do. But not to put the focus on me, but this very well may be my very last live stream ever.
Wow.
So if you guys want to share this out to people that have not seen me for a while, you might not see me again on a live stream. So there's that.
Oh, well, that's saying, and I'm honored to even hear that and to hear you say that. That's thank you. I'm honored to hear that, and I appreciate it. So for those maybe that are in here that are thinking like, well, why are we missing this guy so much? Because like we don't know who this guy is. Can you take us back a little bit to your journey? Kind of talk a little bit about your journey into fragrance and maybe even life. I mean, we can go wherever with it, but I mean, just kind of talk to us about it. I mean, I have nothing but time, brother. Talk to us a little bit about your journey.
Same here, brother. Same here. So my journey honestly started in December of 2024. I was in the middle of a weight loss journey, as I've learned a lot of us have gone down this exact same rabbit hole, this same path. But I was in the middle of a weight loss journey, and after I had dropped my initial probably 50 pounds, obviously you get that boost of confidence with you. Now, I don't know why I chose to go with a fragrance to enhance that confidence, but the fragrance I chose, and I still have it in my collection, is Curve Black. I bought Curve Black and I bought Cremo Spice and Black Vanilla, 2 fragrances for under $50. Curve was kind of sentimental to me because it was my scent of 1995, and I didn't realize that there was a black version of it, which was kind of the grown-up version of Curve. So I thought, well, I'll test the waters with this. It's been a long time. It's probably been 25, 30 years since I've worn a fragrance. So I purchased it, and I was kind of, doing the Google machine, and I'd look up some of the notes and what's going on with it. And then I started spiraling down this rabbit hole on TikTok, as all of us do. And up to that point in my life, I was convinced there was only maybe 2 or 3 different fragrances or 2 or 3 different notes that you could have in a fragrance. I just had this narrow view that, okay, all fragrances smell the same. I'm just spraying something on me and I'm going to smell good. But I had no idea that there was ambergris or there was iris or rose or cardamom, you name it. I mean, the very first video I watched was Nose Blind Fragrance, who turned out to become one of my good friends. And he's actually the one that got me into putting my face on live stream and during videos. And I started watching some of his content, and he made everything so effortless. He was able to explain these things very well. And I watched it and it resonated with me. And I thought, wow, I kind of want to smell like what this guy's talking about. So we've all been here. I made the first couple of purchases and I started with dupes. That was absolutely what I was going to stick with. And I told myself, I'm just going to get a couple, see what they're like. Famous last words, I know. So I started dabbling into the Maison Alhambra line, the Lataffa line, and a couple of fragrances I got, I really, really loved. So come January, I had probably purchased about 15 fragrances, all dupes. And I decided at that point, for whatever reason, I was going to make a video on my collection. And the collection at that point was maybe 15 to 20 fragrances. And it was all dupes. And it's still on my IG if you want to go scroll back and look through it. But I would get all the hate comments. This guy's the dupe demon. He doesn't know anything. It's quantity over quality, all that stuff. And I was reading these and I'm like, well, they're just, I like them, I just want to smell good and enjoy what I'm doing here. I didn't think it was a hot button for so many people. But the second you start buying dupes, and one in particular I'll tell you was Maison Alhambra Tabac Touch. If you don't know what that is, it's a dupe of Tom Ford's Tabac Vanille. So Tabac Touch from Maison Alhambra was fantastic. And I thought to myself, if this smells this good, gotta see what the Tom Ford smells like. And that's when I started making this shift to designers and then niche. My first designer fragrance I probably bought 2 months after I started. It was Stronger With You Intensely, because the hype train, it was the biggest thing in the world at that point. I personally do not like Stronger With You Intensely. I have no animosity, nothing to say bad about anyone that loves it. I personally don't like it. My first niche fragrance I bought at the same time, the best fragrance in the world, Green Irish Tweed from Creed. That really was the catapult into going full steam into niche fragrances. I was at that point moving forward, February of 2025, I was averaging 30 fragrances a month for the next 12 months. I got my collection up to about 360 fragrances. At that time, I was making content and putting a lot of time and effort into it. And March of last year, my account got permanently banned. So I was at a point where I'm like, I'm done. I spent all this time and I'm just finished. Actually, it was May of last year. And I'm done. I'm not doing any more. I had 3 friends three very good friends who are still friends to this day. Cologne University, who you won't see on here anymore. He's gone. AP Sprays and Steel Scents. Three of my, I love those guys to death. They all contacted me and were like, you have got to get back on. We are getting peppered with comments and questions about what happened to Ballcap. Where's he at? Where's he going? So it didn't take me long to think to myself, I must have made an impression on some people. So I reluctantly got back on, and I had to build from scratch again. I had to start from zero and get to the point where I could stream again. And one of the guys that was very influential in my streaming to get me to where I was Blake.
Who's in
Blake
right now? He wanted to say hello. He's in here.
Blake brought me on, and as in total Blake fashion, he's like, I'm putting you under my wing. And he introduced me to a whole new crowd of people, Leisha and Jabin and Overspray Jay. And he was like, you know what? We got you. We're building you back up. He made a video promoting me, which helped boost my account. So those four guys there, I have a lot of respect for because they were really selfless in helping someone like me out who they didn't really know from Adam. We had just met it through TikTok, doing this fragrance thing. And my account just kind of blew up on me. I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would have, at that point, I had around 8,000 followers, but I've lost quite a bit since then because I haven't been on, but I didn't think I'd get 80 followers. I had no clue that I'd be saying or doing anything on here that people would be like, he's on. I got to watch this guy. I want to see what he has to say. And I've been told, and Siren has told me this, that a lot of people come to my videos because they like this fatherly figure, someone that can explain fragrances in the way I do. And there's a lot of people that like my brazen attitude where I just go at trolls and I go at other people that, you know, when you hear JPG 75 times a night, you get kind of frustrated about it. So, you know, you try to set those people in place, but I also had to keep in mind that they might just be hopping in for the first time ever. And I'm sitting here calling them the a-hole and everything else, and leave me alone with the JPG. But, you know, it was, I collected for almost a year, and I met some phenomenal people through this platform. And then when I started decanting, to be 100% transparent, when the decant business started to take off a bit, that's when my passion for collecting absolutely died.
Yep. And
the reason for that, and a lot of people are like, how's that possible? Two reasons. First of all, the decant market is saturated with kids with 5 fragrances that lowball everybody. Now, I have no problem with people trying to do a side hustle, but there are people on here that have hundreds of fragrances doing decants. If you're going to tell me that you're getting in here with 5 or 10 to make a dent, come on. But they would price them so low that I would have to kind of have all this wiggle room. And then you always get asked these questions. Hey, what can you throw in for free? What can you give me for free? That gets old, real old. So
business for a reason.
It is. Yeah. So instead of buying new fragrances every week, I had to buy replenishments of old fragrances every week. And that's not near as fun. So that kind of killed the collecting vibe for me. And then the second reason was I just kind of lost the passion for it. When I lost my job and I moved down here, looking for kind of a fresh start. At that point, I was already my mindset was on the way out. And it was hard because when you've been doing live stream, because I used to live stream for 8 or 9 hours a day. I was on all the time, and people got to the point where I felt that they were reliant on me to be you were my listen to on the way to work in the morning or every night at 7 o'clock. I knew I could get on and I could hear you talk. When the obligation kills passion, that's when it's time to step aside. And at that point, I said, there's a lot of young creators on here that are hungry. They are hungry to make their mark. I have been called the GOAT so many times. I'm not the GOAT. I'm just a middle-aged guy with a spending problem and a desire to smell good. And I took it to the next level. But I like seeing all these younger guys get on here and make their mark and do their thing and make these fun videos that are cool edits to watch. I love it. I love it. I'm not the guy. I'm not the guy. I'm here now. I've got my girlfriend. I've got my apartment. I've got my job. I've got my family. My priorities are entirely different right now. I have people looking to me for support and help and love and time. So between family, loved ones, and jobs, I don't have a lot of time for this. And it's not to say that I don't love this. I miss all of the people in chat. I love every one of them, but it was time for me to step aside and refocus and commit myself to those that I love and my work, because God damn, I don't ever want to be searching for a job again. Oh my Lord.
Well, and you bring up so many good points, brother, and I appreciate you going through all that detail and being so open and honest with us, because I think, if we're being honest, as any content creator in here, I think we've all kind of felt some of the things you described already. I mean, no matter how long we've been in it, it's sometimes you do the time to do a live or you post a video and you're like, oh man, 100 views. Like, did it, like all these things that kind of you
Yeah.
feel, you go through all this stuff and you're like, hey, I bought like, 5 fragrances today. You're like, was that too much? Like, should I really have done that? Like, you start having those buyer's remorse, and there's so much of that happens. And I think that you're 100% right. But I think what I love about what you said, and I think that it's good for, I think, all of us to remember, is that this isn't meant to probably be a forever thing for anybody, right? For any of us,
Right.
to be in this space. Like, life is going to continue to evolve. Things are going to change. Life changes. And I love to hear you talk about how you just had to reprioritize kind of where you were in life, and and it's okay to do that, right? Like, that's a healthy thing to do. And sometimes we're all probably going to go through a similar situation like that at some point, and have to make decisions in our life that, what was really good for a time, and we can honor how good that was and how much it meant to us and how
Mhm.
important it was in our life at a certain point. But that can be true, but also you can need to move on to something else. And I think that is a blessing that you had that insight to be able to do that, and had the support and had the guts to do it too, because I'm sure, as you just described, it wasn't easy. And kudos to you. I guess my one question is, was there like a moment? Was it the job loss, or what was was there a moment that really kind of clicked in your head where, like, you knew, like, this is now the time I need to consider this change? Like, was there a certain pivotal moment, or was it just something that built up over time?
I think it was something that built up over time. And then honestly, when I lost my job, I had a pretty high paying job when I lived in Nebraska. And when that restructuring happened and I lost that position and I had to be reliant on this as a source of income, I think at that point, um, the love had gone from I'm collecting to now it's survival mode. And that was a hard change for me. We all have our passions and our hobbies, and sometimes the hobbies come and become greater, and you can make a living off the hobbies because it's something you love. But sometimes having a hobby is just that. You want it to be a hobby, and you want it to stay a hobby because that is your escape from work. You come home from work and you enjoy your hobby. That was taken from me. And my mindset at that point, as I said, shifted into survival mode. I had to make some hard decisions. And, I think that's when the spiral started. And it was time to kind of minimize what I was doing on, as far as purchasing, as far as streaming, and one thing led to another, and here we are.
Sounds like you prioritize your health and your mental health, but also sounds like you prioritize yourself, honestly, is what it sounds like, which is a healthy thing. I mean, I will be honest with you. You sound wonderful right now. And I will be honest with you. It was hard to watch those last couple times you were live because we could see it in your eyes and we could hear it in your voice that you were struggling, and it was hard to hide that. And I know you were trying to do your best to hide it, but we could see it. And a lot of us that even purchased bottles from you, I think we even kind of felt like we're like, oh man, we're doing it because we knew it was helping, but it was also like, man, it kind of hurt a little bit too because it's like, man, these are something that he loves, and we're buying these bottles from him. I mean, I have a couple of your bottles in my collection, and I'll keep them forever just because I know. And even today, because I knew I was interviewing you, I rocked one of the Ballcap decants today at work, so I had a Michael Malone Ballcap decant, and I used it today. So I was like, in honor of today,
Very
I'm
cool.
going to take this and use it today. But I think that is that's what happens with that. So anyway, I just kind of thinking back through all that. I mean, I just think that you prioritize yourself, and I love that. But one of the questions I have that I know you've learned a lot about yourself through all this, and I'm just curious, is there something that you really feel like you've learned, like a life lesson about yourself or about this process that you might be willing to share with everybody? Because I think that you went through something major, and I would just love to hear what you've learned. Good
It
question.
was, and I love the question. It wasn't something I was prepared for, but I learned a couple of things. First and foremost, when you're going through struggles, you really find out who cares about you and who's willing to help and who's going to reach out or send you a text and just to check on your mental stability at that time. Because you're right, Dean. When I was going through those last few live streams, I was very dejected.
Hmm.
I was struggling, and thank God that I had Siren with me at the time, because it's so nice to have someone you love there to support. But yes, you really find out who your people are, and when you find out who those people are, you better damn sure hold them close, because they're going to be with you through thick and thin. And if you're struggling and they're there for you, that's big. So if I ever have any friends that I see that are struggling, you can bet your bottom dollar I'm going to be right there making sure that they're taken care of to the best of my abilities from where I'm at. The second thing I learned is that when I was so hyper focused on trying to make money selling decants and my job in the past, having the time away from a job where I could kind of utilize my time as I saw fit, you can't buy back a minute of time for any amount of money. So when you have people around you that want to be with you and that you care about, make sure you're taking full advantage of every moment you have. And on top of that, if you have the opportunity, much like a lot of you people, yourself included, Dean, if you have the ability to help somebody who's struggling, help them. We are all battling. It's hard times in the world right now, and I'm not trying to get too,
Yep, right.
you know, into the weeds here, but help somebody. I found that in my darkest times, if I was able to help someone, it made me feel a lot better. And I can't describe to you the feeling I had when everyone came out of the woodwork to buy fragrances from me just to keep me afloat so I could stay in Houston, so I could find a job, get settled. It meant the world to me. So I know what it's like to be on your last two nickels. but there's always community there. So
I appreciate you sharing that. I know that's a tough
make
question. Sure.
yeah, make sure you're utilizing your time. Make sure you're taking care of your family. Take care of yourself where you can't take care of your family, and help those in need. I think those are the three biggest things that I learned, and I'm sure there's more, but as you put me on the spot, it was tough. But yes, those are three of the big ones that I people in chat. I apologize if I'm not answering your questions, or I'm seeing the comments come up, but I'm trying to focus on my host here. So I'm not ignoring you. I love all of you. I appreciate that you're all here. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you for saying that, because that's one of the things. Even as I do these interviews, I sometimes I try to remind people it's that we do see them, and we do, and sometimes I'll reference them. But it is hard sometimes when we're having a conversation. It's just a little bit of a different format. But definitely, we see all you guys down here, and I love it. That's what I love, all this community down here, and you guys are cracking me up in the chat. Some
It's
of you guys with some of the stories. It's what makes it fun. And it's kind of funny. You were talking a little bit about I think you mentioned the word declutter, but one of these things that I've had in my life a couple times, I've always laughed because I told my wife I was going to become a minimalist, because I love this idea. Like, I watch these videos on YouTube of these people that are just minimalist, right? They kind of get rid of all this extra stuff that's in their lives, and they kind of keep things really clean. And but then my wife laughs at me. She goes, "You're the most maximal minimalist I've ever I've ever met," because even though I love the idea of being a minimalist, there's no way in hell I'm able to do it. But I've got to ask you the question, like, being able to downsize some of your collection and being able to get down to 100 something bottles, how has that made you feel? Like, do you feel like because sometimes people say that stuff, especially even fragrances, when you get so many of them, it almost feels like a weight. It's almost like a weight that you're lugging around with you, literally physically, but also it's in your headspace. You're trying to think, which ones am I going to wear? Is there too many of them? Have you ever thought about that? Do you feel less of a weight now that you've kind of decluttered some of those?
So I think about that quite a bit, and Siren has seen me declutter a lot, and she's seen the dejection on my face when I've had to let some of these go. Because let's be honest, when you declutter a collection of 360 bottles, nobody's coming for your dupes. They're not coming for the cheapos that you would prefer to get rid of. They're all coming for the high end stuff. So I sold off a ton of fragrances that I absolutely love. Absolutely love. So it was hard shipping those off and not seeing them in the collection anymore. Now, the light that I got from it was just like I had mentioned. These are people that are coming to help me, to support me, and they're getting a little piece of Ballcap in their collection. And that made me feel a little bit of solace, and I was happy to make that happen. It's a double-edged sword. In the same breath, I'm like, I miss having. Now, am I ever going to use all those bottles? I'm going to be 6 feet deep before I put a dent in any of these. So I don't need 350 bottles, but I sure love to look at 350 bottles.
That makes sense. And another question I was writing down today. I'm like, okay, I'm trying to think. So his favorite fragrance is still. So where's Castley at in your ranking? Is Castley still one of your favorites?
Castley's top 5. Now, I'm going to say this, that a lot of people are going to be a little bit surprised of. I saw Manny in chat here, so he's probably going to drop his jaw. I am starting to really like Oak Moss. Parfums de Marly Greenly has surpassed Sedley.
Wow.
I hate to admit it. I am a fan of Greenly. And yes, Manny, I am a fan of the Imagination DNA. Everybody's nose changes.
I'll say, have you hit your head, Ballcap? Have you hit your head? Are you okay? Like, no fever, right? So make sure everything's good.
I might have a parasite, but I don't know.
Yeah. Oh my God, the world has frozen over.
Yes, it's crazy. I've worn Greenly twice in the last week.
Hey, man, that just shows that hey, all of us old dogs can learn new tricks. All right, we can, like you said, our noses change, and it's okay to go through
Yes.
that. And I often think too, and I don't know, I've not done a lot of research or a lot of thinking about this. It's just an idea that's popped in my head. But I bet we know how much scent is so tied to our memories and our experiences, and I'd be really curious. Some of your favorite fragrances when you were going through some of this hard stuff. It's going to be interesting to me to see how those hit you later. And if those
Yeah.
scents kind of will bring you back to a time where you're kind of like, you know what, I don't know if I can wear that again because it does remind me of a time that was difficult, or it does remind me like I'm going to be very curious to see what that looks like for you as your journey continues.
Well, it's funny you mention that because I have a fragrance from Nishane, Wulong Cha X. I love the scent, but that's the scent I wore on the day I was laid off from my job in Nebraska. So I haven't worn it since. It's kind of got that feel to me. Now, I will admit that a lot of the fragrance I have gone from kind of a gourmand heavy guy to more of a fresh vibe scent. So I'm
Are you
wearing more of the
Fougere? Are you
Pacific Rock.
Fougere Ballcap now? Is that what we're going to call you, Doc?
I
Fougere?
don't I don't know. I don't know, but I've been wearing, Queensberry Dream Date, Greenlee, Ralph's Club New York, um, Aqua de Jo, Absolute. I've been wearing a lot of the fresh fragrances, and I've been loving. But of course, we also live in the ball scorching heat of Houston, so you don't get to wear gourmands too often down here. So, as far as fragrances that really help my mind sort of decompress or relax or get me to a better time. Cremo Spice and Black Vanilla is definitely one of them. It's just a soothing scent. It was one of the first I picked up. I love it. It's a great nighttime scent. Um, Aqua de Jo Absolute is absolutely one of my favorites because that is a scent that Siren absolutely loves, and I love it. And I was really excited when Fragrance Dude traded me for it. So that's in there. And another one that I absolutely love that has very sentimental feeling for me is Prada Paradigm. And a lot of people hate on Paradigm, but that was Siren and we had our first date. My first scent that I wore around her was Prada Paradigm. So that's got a special place in my heart. Green Irish Tweed, the first niche I ever purchased, has got a special place in my heart. Um, but and honestly, this is going to sound weird, but Mason Alhambra, Fabulo Intense, has kind of got a chokehold on me in terms of it was one of the first fragrances I ever purchased, but it smells terrible. It's one of the few fragrances I've ever purchased that as it matured, it got worse. And it's supposed to be their impression of Tom Ford's effing fabulous. It is not effing fabulous. It is effing terrible, but still I find myself reaching for it to smell it every now and then. It's weird. Just, it brings me back to some of the old videos I made where it was just my hands in the closet and these dupe fragrances. So it's got that sentimental feel to me.
Oh man, that is funny. It's really interesting as I think through some of those things and just how your perspective and how you think back on some of these experiences and how that changes. I'm just kind of curious too, and I think you've kind of hinted to this a little bit, but what in your life right now are you really excited about and passionate about? Because I can hear it coming back in your voice. I can hear the excitement, and you're excited about things. So what are you doing? What is the life besides supporting the family and some of those things? What are the things you're finding to be fun and you're kind of getting involved in again? Um, to find joy in life.
Yeah, honestly, it sounds kind of greedy, but getting a paycheck every Friday has been great. Now, I can support myself and I can help with loved ones. But it seems minimal, Joe, but the day that I got my key to the apartment and Siren and I walked in here and I had a stove to use and a full-size fridge, I I about dropped to my knees and cried because it's been so long since I've had my own place. I never thought I was going to be able to get one. Um, that was great. But moving forward, the things that I'm passionate about is once I've got my safety net kind of set, I want to start helping people however I can. Um, I don't care what it is. If I love cooking. So if I can cook some food and take it to like the battered women's shelter or offer it to some homeless people. There's a lot of homeless here in Houston, or just to help anybody who's down on their luck. Cause I know what it was like and it was not easy. And I'm a very proud person. So you can see it in people's eyes, when they had the world and it was taken from them. So I think as a society, we've really gotten away from prioritizing community to being selfish. And I don't want to be there ever again. So any chance I can to help people, I think moving forward, getting involved in church and to help people, I think that's where my passion's going to be.
I'd say I appreciate you saying that because I really do think that it is a good reminder for people. And I think that even for those of you that have never been laid off or have never had life kind of throw a rock at you, likely it's going to happen in your lifetime. Something's going to happen and you're going to be challenged. And I think that's what I love about you being open and honest about this whole experience. And we got to see a lot of it, from the driver's seat, right here watching you on lives. And then to see the comeback is beautiful too. But I think that we're all going to experience something like that. And I love that you don't shy away from talking about it because I think any of us that are lucky enough to hear you or watch this recording or see this video, I think it's going to be something that's going to help a lot of people just from them hearing that you are going to go through hard times in life, but you can get through it. It's about the support system and keeping that positive attitude and keeping your priorities in check and all the things that you did that I don't know if everybody would have done them the same way. And maybe I don't know, maybe, I guess, hell, I'll ask the question. Would you do anything different that going back thinking now that and I know that's a tough question, but anything differently that you would have done? Or do you feel like, what, you just had to kind of get through it and, now you're on the other side of it?
I think at the time, had I known that when I moved down here that I wouldn't have had anything to fall back on, I may have just looked for any job to get some income coming in, uh, rather than feeling like I am owed a management position just because of the experience I had. I should have just taken one or two, part-time, full-time jobs. Didn't have to be anything spectacular, just to make some money and, put food on the table rather than having to go crazy selling off all my fragrances. Not that I probably wouldn't have done that to begin with. But to supplement in some way, so I wouldn't have had to have sold so many.
Yeah. No, that makes complete sense. That's good. Like I said, I know that's a tough question, but I think that again, you're going to help people just by answering that question because I know other people have been there or will be there, and just hearing that I think will be helpful. But so let me ask you this question, kind of a fun question. Have you since you've had a paycheck coming in now, have you bought a bottle of cologne, or have you have you purchased anything since that paycheck's rolled in?
Okay, so yes, actually, just a couple weeks ago, Siren was here, and I said we're going to make a little road trip, and she had no idea where we were going, and I took her to Aura Fragrance because they have their shop here in Houston. So we went to Aura Fragrance, and it was kind of nice because I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars at Aura Fragrance. So me being the guy I am, I thought I was going to walk in and they'd be like, "Oh my God, it's Ballcap. He bought Alexandria too and 4 Initios from us and blah, blah, blah." And I'd just be like, "Yeah, how you doing? Yeah, it's good to see you. Yeah, I'll sign your autographs, whatever." But we went in there and we were just kind of dinking and doinking around. And as we know, Aura Fragrance has got some of the best prices. I was ideally looking for Alexandria too, because I was out and I love that scent, but they were out of it. So I felt compelled to buy something, as maybe just this is completing the circle. So of all the fragrances that I picked up, because I sold off my Absolute Aventus and I love that stuff. I didn't want to spend that kind of money, so I got Club de Nuit Prescio, which is their spin on Absolute Aventus, and it's very, very good. And I had a bottle, but decanted all of it. So I was like, I'd like to get that back. So originally I wanted Off Non-Supremacy Collector's Edition, but they didn't have any of that there. I went with the next best thing. So yeah, I spent $45 to get a bottle of a cheap dupe, completing the cycle.
Starting back where you began. This, yeah. And
Yeah.
it doesn't lead back into another circle of life, as Frugal says. But I am laughing. Detroit's in the chat. He goes, he did charge employees for pictures though. So he goes when you walked in. So Detroit has you covered. But
it was a bunch. It was probably 4 or 5 young girls that were working there, so they were just on their phones, and I was like, but I'm Ballcap.
Don't you guys know me?
What?
I mean, come on. Like, I know that's an injustice. That's an injustice of the world.
Where's
right
my
there.
50% discount?
I love that though, because it's so funny. We've all been there where we go to a counter, right? And we go to Sephora and we're just like, and these poor teenagers who, I mean, they're doing their best, right? They're working. I support them, but they don't realize when they come up to one of us, like the knowledge and the depth of if they only knew the things that we have seen and have discovered and talked through, they would be like, I can't even talk to this guy about fragrances.
Well, fortunately, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not the type that's going to walk in anywhere and be like, "Don't you know who I am?" That is not me. That is not me at all. So
take a note, Frugal. Yeah, that's not what you do. All right. Don't do that. You got to change, Frugal. I have to pick on him. He's in here. I got to pick on him a little bit. So
absolutely, yes.
Of course. So, hey, so let me ask you this question. So what, fragrance wise, you were kind of hinting at a little bit of kind of like your top 5. Has that changed any? Like, are you like, what are kind of, and again, I know any of us talking about a top 5 is ludicrous because it changes by the day, but anything that, that's kind of really hitting you? Cause we've been asking that question lately. Like, what are the top 5 you've been reaching for kind of recently? What's that like for you right now?
5, I gotta say Castley is up there, and Green Irish Tweed. Those are staples in my top 5. I'll tell you one thing. I got a sample from Amouage. Diaman, probably my favorite Amouage fragrance I've ever smelled. Reasons is also very good. Better than Outlands. Comes from the same line, but it's got oak moss in it. Surprise. But I would say Diaman and Reasons are in my top 5. And honestly, probably Aqua de Jo Absolute, just as a good gentleman scent.
It's a great one. I mean, I don't know if you've got your nose on the new. I mean, it's similar to the Absolute version of Aqua di Gio, but I think it does a nice job too. It's really good. They always just do a solid job with those, and they're fresh, they're clean, and they're good. So, yeah, they're definitely.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal scent.
Yeah, without a doubt. So, okay, so we've talked a little bit about kind of where you are and kind of where you've been and kind of where you are now. So, what's next, man? What's next for you? I mean, it sounds like you kind of alluded to it a little bit. You're going to be working and you're going to be taking care of your family and you're going to be doing those kinds of things. I know, and you're up to you if you want to go down this path. But somebody did ask how your mother was doing in the chat. I don't know if you want to go down that path or anyway, but somebody was just checking and wondering how your mom was doing.
Well, if they're still in chat, thank you for asking. I really do appreciate that. She's doing better. She's as feisty and as grumpy as ever. But we made it home from New York. She's doing fairly well.
It was Steve.
She's old.
Steve makes sense. Yeah. That's who it was. It was Steve asking.
Thank you, Steve. But yeah, she's old. She's having a hard time getting around, but she wants to go back. She has a job at the local grocery store there. She just sits at the cash register and checks people out, and she doesn't have to do anything. And I honestly think that would be perfect for her to get back for maybe 4 or 5 hours a week, because she's such a social person. I don't know where I got my disdain for socializing, but she's very social. So I think it's great for her, uh, mental, emotional components to engage with people because she's alone in the house. So, but she's doing well. She's able to take care of herself. But next for me is I'm hyper focused on my career right now. I want to get things set up so that I have a safety net. So God forbid anything like this ever happens again, I've got, that safety net there. Um, but I want to I'm going to be in Texas for a while. Um, that's my plan. And Siren and I have been talking, and we'll just kind of leave it at that about our future plans. But
Sure.
um, I'm going to be in Houston for quite a while. So I'd like to experience what Texas has. I've only known Rockport and Houston and the Woodlands, just those two areas. I really want to see what's out there. And we've been looking at places to take like weekend getaways. The Austin area looks phenomenal. So I'd like to get out there and check out some of that. I want to go to, the Astros game, even though I'm not an Astros fan. I just want to see baseball. I want to go to an NFL game. I got to keep in mind that I'm in a town that offers this stuff now. So I want to take advantage of that and see what's out there. I I still want to enjoy my fragrances, and I'll be honest, when a lot of you people are doing your live streams, I'm there watching. I'm not hopping in, but I'm on the outside watching in, encouraging you from the outside. But I feel like all of us are family, so I still want to be engaged to some degree with my fragrance community.
You're lurking, Siren says. You're a lurker. You're a lurker.
Yes. That's exactly the best.
We can feel your presence, Ballcap. We just know that you're there cheering us on in the background.
My eyes are on you. So yeah, I want to reconnect with my kids and make sure that we have our time together. My youngest graduates high school here this next month, so my plans are to go back and see that. But to reestablish our connection, because I'll be honest, when this slide in my life happened, I'm kind of the type of person, and I'm not saying this for sympathy or for people to think any different of me, but I really close myself off.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very, very few people were able to know what I was going through at that time. And I wasn't engaged with any of my family. I'd still text my kids every now and then, but I didn't want them to be concerned. And I didn't want my mom or my sister to be concerned about where I was at. So moving forward, now that my family is back in my close circle, I want to make sure that family is on my forefront, my family and my loved ones. So re-engaging and repurposing myself as a father, as a son, as a brother, as a partner, that is my focus. That and work and enjoying life and helping others. So that's where I'm going.
That's awesome. And again, I appreciate you so much for saying that, because I think that, that is a normal reaction, right? Like, none of us want our family to see us struggling. And like, it's okay to say that. Like, some people will retrench in the hardest times of their life. And that doesn't mean that you didn't care about anybody that was reaching out, but it's hard sometimes to respond when you're in a low. I mean, what are you going to say, right? Like, yeah, I'm still in a low place. Like, how many times do you want to answer that? Hey, I'm still looking for a job.
Yeah.
You don't want to, I mean, it's tough, right? And so you do pull back a little bit. I think I'm so glad you said that, because I think a lot of people probably wouldn't say that. And I think that is just a normal reaction. And I think we got to recognize that happens.
Yeah, it's tough I've always been close to my sister and my mom. So what am I going to do? Get on there and say, hey, guess what? I'm homeless. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah.
Talk to you soon.
100%.
That's dumping a lot of emotional distress at their doorstep that they didn't ask for and they don't deserve. I've always been the type that I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get things done. I'm going to make things work. Just watch. I might have some bumps along the way, but I'm going to get things figured out.
I love it.
But fortunately, I had someone right next to me the whole way, and she was there supporting me. And with her help, I figured it out. We got moving. So
now I'm going to ask
happier.
you. Now I'm going to ask you the fun question, right? So like I know that you have a great eye for talent. You also have a great eye, like you have thoughts on people that are doing things, well in the space, not well. And it's been an interesting time in the fragrance community here lately, I will say. And if you've been watching from the outside, you kind of know probably a little bit of what I'm talking about. So without getting into too much detail, I'm kind of curious from you, like looking back, like what is the fragrance community getting right now, and where do you think it can improve, and where do you think like we're missing the ball here? Because I feel like there's just some really interesting times going on, and I don't know. Again, it may be bigger. It's probably a bigger thing about what's happening in the world and everything that's going on. But I am really curious as someone. Everybody in here talks about you being the old G, and I know you don't like that, but that you have wisdom, you wise sage. So you tell us where we need to be going and where we shouldn't be.
Well, you got a troll in your chat.
Yeah, I'm getting taking care of those people. Don't you worry. Those people are nuts.
But as far as the fragrance community in general, I think there's a couple things that we're doing wrong. First and foremost is, and I got kind of engrossed in this too, just not in a big sense is just kind of, okay, it's happening and I'm acknowledging that it's happening. But I think when you have these content creators that are having these relationships, I feel like they're trying to take their big platform and the platform of the entire community here in fragrance and make it into their own little soap opera. And for better or for worse, it's wrapping a lot of people in for drama that we didn't ask for and we don't want. We don't care. We don't care who's dating who or who's having an affair. We joined this community because we wanted to talk about fragrances. I want to know what the next Louis Vuitton drop is going to be. I want to know what Tom Ford's effing fabulous parfum smells like. That's why I got into this space. I don't care that this guy is dating this person. If you want to have that type of content, then leave it in a different space. Create a new account and wrap it in there. Now, I get it. They're big creators, and a lot of people are like, oh, I can't believe this is happening. Well, it's happening, and you're seeing it happen because they're pushing it on you so much that we don't have a choice but to see it happen. And I personally don't care that it's happening. And Siren makes a good point. We met through Fragrance TikTok, so there is that.
Come on, Siren. What are you doing?
Honestly, that's one of the things that I was going to go into that the fragrance community is doing right. But the second thing that I think the fragrance community is having a struggle with is you don't get genuine content. None. It's all these people that are bought and paid for that are forced because they're getting money to say perfect things about any fragrance that comes across their desk. That is, it's weaponizing the fragrance for you to, in essence, feel like you need to buy it. I'm going to go ahead and spend all this money on Fabulo Intense because somebody with 3 million followers said it's spot on effing fabulous. And then you get it and it smells like a raccoon turd. So if you're going to listen to content creators, make sure that you're listening to people that actually have a valid opinion, that pay for their own fragrances. It's not PR, because then you're going to get their raw, unfiltered review of a fragrance. And that's what I want to hear. I don't want people to get on there and I've seen way too many content creators every single video, this is the best release ever. This is the best release. Everything is the best release ever. If that's the case, then we all just need to buy every single fragrance out there and call it a day. Let's just buy everything. I don't care. So I'm going to have 42,000 fragrances because you know what? I've been told 42,000 times that these 42,000 fragrances are the best fragrances ever. So that gets a little tiring. Now, what the community is doing right is exactly what Siren's talking about. You're meeting community. You're meeting like-minded people. And it's bringing people who I would have never in a million years thought I would find anybody in Houston, Texas that I would fall in love with and start dating. I never thought that I'd meet a very good person in Rockport, Texas to become very good friends, or a guy that lives in Long Island, New York, or a guy that lives in the middle of Florida. I've got people from all over the world. I've got Australia, New Zealand, Canada, all these people that I could sit here and, send a private message to, and we could talk for 2 hours. So I think that's what the community is doing right, is you're getting a lot of these like-minded people that are creating this community. And I think you've seen it too, Joe, but we all have kind of our little cliques. So depending on which clique you're in, and it feels a little bit high schoolish, but you all have certain preferences. And then this group over here has their certain preferences. And sometimes it's like a Venn chart, but they kind of meld together a little bit. So some trickles in, others trickle out. But there's so many great people here, and very genuine people, and people that want to engage and want to have fun and want to meet. And I think that's one of the things that the community is doing right. And to see so many of these new creators come on and talk about things like talking about the science behind fragrances or notes, or talking about the history behind a fragrance or notes, or talking about perfumers and what they've done. I mean, more than just talking about this smells good, it smells like holy water mixed with Kool-Aid, you should buy it. Something that's totally different rather than just what a smell is. I like seeing a little bit of everything. So I think seeing some of those new creators come on with a different hat it's been great. It's fun to watch.
So you've not made any fragrance mistakes in your life, unlike me, because I just saw TJB just hopped in the room. So you didn't guarantee a 200 milliliter bottle of Guerlain, like I did, and ended up with a 200 milliliter bottle of Guerlain. What was it? The Vetiver Fauve fragrance that's really green that he can't stand. So that was one of my biggest screw ups. So I'm just kind of curious, have you kind of thought back to what your biggest fragrance screw up is? Because I'm never going to let TJB forget that, even though I've probably benefited from that. I'm just curious. I don't know if I've ever asked you that. What was your biggest fragrance screw up?
Well, I had a few of them, and this is my OCD, ADHD in high gear. But when I started collecting, I thought it was imperative that, say, when I got into the Valentino or Azzaro or YSL, rather than buying one or two of the really good fragrances, I felt like I had to clear the line. So instead of I'm going to just get Born in Rome Intense, YSL Myself Le Parfum, and PDM Castly. Instead of getting three, I'd start with Azzaro, the most wanted Intense, and then it'd be like, well, I suppose I better get the Parfum too. Well, I better get Chrome Extreme. Well, I better get Chrome Legend. Oh, I better get Azzaro Wanted by Night. So then I've got 12 Azzaros there and no money left for anything else. But I've got all the Azzaros. So instead of, kind of cherry picking out of each line, I'd start in a line and then I'd have to clear it. It's like collecting a set of baseball cards. It was the dumbest thing I could have done.
It's funny you say that, because I think you talk about being like your advice that you gave to content creators. That would kind of be my advice to all these companies. I know they're trying to make a profit. I know they're trying to make money, but I am just getting so tired of all the flankers that just come out that are slightly twisted. And like I have tried to not buy into the hype and buy everyone. It's hard sometimes, because it's like, gosh, why didn't they release the most recent fragrance as the first one? Well, I know why. It's because they're trying to. I mean, we know why they're doing it, right? It's a money play, but it's just there's so many freaking flankers out there right now that I just cannot. I mean, I think last time we talked, I can't even remember what it was, how many thousands of fragrances were released each day. It's hard to keep up with it. And the flanker
Mhm.
business, that would be my advice is that I think that they really, especially designers, they have to do a better job of really taking their time and coming out with some things that
Mhm.
are at least a little bit different than what's out there. Cause yeah, there's not a lot of new things out there these days.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And, you were talking about that 200 mil Guerlain that was a turd. I still remember one really bad purchase that'll live in infamy forever for me. I saw on Fragrance Net, and this is when I was trying to clear the Parfums de Marly house. I had 25 Parfums de Marly fragrances. I had them all with the exception of the discontinued. I think I needed Ispahan. And I saw on Fragrance Net two that I needed. Uh, Hom- Hamdani and Byerly. Byerly was discontinued. Hamdani I had never heard of, but if you look at the notes of Hamdani, it's like it was right in my wheelhouse for the time. It had amber, it had uh, warm spices, it had everything nices. I spent $450 on two fragrances. One of them smelled like Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce with Sharpies dipped in it, and the other one smelled like creosote soaked railroad ties. So I swung and missed on 450 bucks on one order of two Parfums de Marly fragrances.
That's the descriptions we're not getting in this space anymore, man. I mean, you give the people what they want, man. That is the best description of a fragrance I've ever heard. I need to step my game up. I don't think I've ever referred to a fragrance so descriptively. You've done a nice job with that.
Well, that's part of what I loved educating people on when I was doing live streams, because that's one thing to add on what I think the fragrance community could do better is when you have new people getting into this space and say you have a big time content creator saying, this is vetiver done right. What the hell is vetiver? What does it smell like? A new person in the space is like, I don't know what the heck vetiver smells like. I don't know what amber smells like. What is oak moss? But if you tell somebody that something smells like barbecue sauce and Sharpies, they're going to be able to associate that because they know what that smells like. They're not going to know what warm spices, amber, and resins are. Like, what? That could be anything. It could be a car tire that's lit on fire for all I know.
So it's funny you bring this up because I've struggled with this a little bit because my go to has been if I don't like a fragrance, I'm probably unless it's a Rayhan or it's a house that I know that like I'm not going to do any damage to. Like I usually just won't talk about it. Like if it's something that I don't like I won't go on and just kind of bash it just to to bash it. Especially if it's like an American brand or if it's a niche house or I know that it could like potentially really hurt and take food off of somebody's table. I'll be a little bit more careful with
Right.
that. So that's kind of where I've tried to land it with fragrances is that if I don't like it, I'm just not if you don't see me reviewing something that just came out, it's probably because I don't care for it too much. But I think that that's dangerous too because WT's talked about this in the chat a little bit. I mean, he is honest. He will get on there and talk about it. And I think it does help with his credibility because people will know that he is going to tell the truth. So I go back and forth with what the right model is. I think brands can be very spiteful. And I think WT's even talked about how some brands have held that against him when he is honest. He could talk about how great something is, but he's going to be honest with it in the end. And I think that
Yeah.
to me, that's something that I think we all kind of struggle with a little bit is like when to be honest about a fragrance and when to just not talk about it because we don't want to, take a chance of hurting a brand deal or something we might want to do in the future.
Well, I think it depends on your intent with what you want to do with fragrances. If your intent is to get on here and educate and to help guide, then you have to be brutally honest. You have to tell people exactly what you think. Otherwise, as I said, you're weaponizing the fragrance for anybody to buy and make a mistake on. But if you're solely in this platform and in this space to grow and become kind of a servant of the the companies that are sending the bottles so you make sure you get PR, then you have to tap dance around it. And I respect either way. There's some people that are trying to make a living doing this, but ultimately, me personally, I prefer the person that's going to be blunt and honest about a fragrance. that's who I'm going to watch more. But I understand the need for people to, hey, if you're not big into this, this might be for you, or this might not be for you, to dance around the issue a little bit and word it in a way that's not harmful to the company, but still you're promoting it to people that might like it. So there's that fork in the road you have to take, and I think there's tactful ways of doing it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's what Steve's bringing up about how fragrance is subjective, and a lot of times we do talk like we know that. I think most of us that are in this space, there's things we're going to love and things we're going to hate, and that's okay, completely okay to have
Mhm.
that those opinions. I think it's when you get other people that are kind of new to the fragrance space and they're looking for our advice, or they're coming to us, and do they have that same background or not? And I think that's up to
Right.
us to help educate. And I think that's a really great point that you bring up is that you really have to know what you're doing and you have to be honest and educate about what you're kind of doing in the space. I think that makes a whole lot of sense. So you mentioned to me earlier, and just for those that have tuned in here, you mentioned this may be your last life that you're ever in, which I think is again, obviously. Life changes. Who knows? You could, things change, and you might be back later. But how will people keep, or how would you? Well, I don't even know if that's a great question. But I guess what I'm asking is, if people want to keep up with you, is there a way they can keep up with you, or is there an email or a better way to do that, or what do you think about that, or do you even want people to do that?
I'd love for people to reach out to me and ask questions. You can certainly send me a private message on here. That's perfectly fine. I'm not one to give out my phone number to very many people. A select few have it, but um,
Is
depends on
MySpace?
it depends on who's asking. Yeah, MySpace, but yeah, private messages, or if you want to email me, I've still got my Ballcap Cologne at yahoo.com account that I do emails on. So I don't know that people would want to reach out to me. It's fine if you do, but I'm always here.
Yeah, well, I was just it was curious because I mean, I meant what I said. I mean, there are a lot of people that have really, like I said, it was so fascinating because I didn't tell a lot of people I'd reached out to you because I wasn't sure what you were going to say. I wasn't sure if you were going to respond or be like, "Hey, man, I'm just not now." I didn't know where you were, if you, were in a better place or not. So I reached out, and once I announced it, I had a lot of people reach out. They were so excited that you were going to come on here, and I think a lot of people. I think are really just are happy that of this update that you've provided for them today. And so I hope that you'll leave this tonight and be like, hey, this is awesome. Like people still care about me, that they wanted to know that I was doing well, and that is legit. And I just appreciate you coming on here to be able to do that. It means the world to me. And like I said, you were kind of so kind in the beginning to talk about me taking this on. I mean, I have no clue. I'm still learning every day. I love just learning about people's stories, and that is the thing for me that I'm so happy when I have people like you. And we had another great interview. I think it was last week with Pops with Covenant Sense, and he was so vulnerable about his growing up and about his story. And I love when people are vulnerable and will actually open up and talk about real things and real topics because we none of us have this whole life thing figured out. We're all trying to get through it right together.
Yeah,
And that's the way I
absolutely.
look at it.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I'm super happy. I mean, if you've got more questions, I've got more time. I enjoy this. It's been a while since I've been on this space. Like I said, this is likely my last live stream ever. So I'd rather go out with a bang. It, do I though? Do I want to go out with a bang, or do I just want to kind of blissfully fade into the night?
Well, the good news is you can change your mind. That's the great news. It's America. It's a free world. You could say that tonight, and be right back into it. But well, I will ask you this question. You told me, you said, "Hey, Joe, I'll come on here, but I'm going to have some questions for you too." So I'll throw it out there, man. If you got some questions for me, we can turn the tables here a little bit. So feel free at any time if you want to ask me anything as well. I have a whole list of things, but brother, you're always welcome. I'd be honored for you to ask me questions.
Appreciate that.
Well, one of the things I think that that I'm interested in is and honestly, this is a little crazy, but it's something I've thought a lot about. You moving around and moving fragrances, and did you learn anything? Like, is there a best way to do that? Like, we've talked about this. A couple people I know that have moved lately, and so they've had to move fragrances around from place to place and tried to figure out the best
Mhm.
way to do that. Do you have any tips for people that are getting ready to move? are thinking about moving their collections? Because you have done that multiple times here in the last few years. Any tips you have for people?
More, more than I care to admit. It depends on if they save the boxes or not. If you save the boxes, it's pretty easy to package them up into bigger boxes and transport them that way. For me, I didn't have a lot of the boxes. So the easiest way for me to do it was just to find like the heavier constructed boxes or even like the USPS totes, put a layer of fragrance down, and then I'd do something as simple as taking a sweatshirt, putting it over the top, fragrances, sweatshirt fragrances. So basically anything, whether it's towels, t-shirts, bed sheets, whatever that you can get in between. It's like making a fragrance lasagna, but with linens.
The most expensive fragrance lasagna you've ever had in one of those boxes.
Yes.
Well, that's good tips and good advice, because I've had people reach out to me and ask me about that. They're like, how do you do this?" And I keep my boxes for that exact reason, because I know one of these days I'm gonna have to box this crap up, and I'm sitting there thinking, "Man, it is gonna be so nice to put it back in the original box, or when I sell them, it's gonna be nice." But I get not everybody has a space to do that. Like Steve, I'm laughing. Steve, if you ever had to try to box up your collection, brother, I don't know, and I know you didn't keep the boxes because you'd have to have a whole separate building to put all those boxes. So you're gonna
Yeah,
have
he's gonna have to build his house. He'll have to build a house around the fragrances.
that that is right. You know, one of the things we haven't talked about, ball cap, is kind of what the fragrance community has, or like the creators have done. So like House of Cosmo has been a big one this year, right? That has come around since you've been on here. I don't know if you've got a chance to smell any of those fragrances yet. But I'm just kind of curious as to kind of what your take is. Have you been following some of the releases that are out there? And do you have any thoughts on anything that's come out since you've been really active on this platform?
Well, we got a chance to smell the purple melancholia from Valentino. Was not super impressed with it. I was hoping for a little bit more. Couldn't find any of the YSL iced, but I've heard it's basically no different than a fresh minty version of the EDP. So sounds like a cash grab to me. Stronger with You spices, I'd really like to sample, and the Powerfully as well. I think those would be two fragrances that would be pretty decent. I've always been a fan of the Stronger with You line, but mostly I've been sampling from lines that have been around for a while, not exactly new releases, like Amouage, Byredo, Diptyque. Um, been smelling all the MFKs because I only had four in my collection, so I got a chance to sample a bunch of those. And things like the unusual Zerzhovs, stuff that I'd never smelled in the past. So it's kind of nice being just a stone's throw away from the Galleria here in Houston, where we can go and sample thousands of different fragrances. House of Cosmo, I've heard a lot of great things about. So this is one thing I'll say. I know there's not many people in here, but I'm looking to level up my collection. So if anyone's got Diamant from Amouage or Amouage Reasons or Amouage Remain, and you want to make a trade, I'm all for that. But I also would love to sample any House of Cosmo or some of these really unique lines. I'm interested in them. So
Well, brother, this is coming your way then. I'll get your address afterwards. I've got the sample set right here. So I'm done with it. I've got, some of the bottles in here, and I ended up getting some larger bottles of what I liked in here. So this is coming your way, brother. I've been looking for what to do with it next, and I think nothing better than to send it your way and let you try it out. I will say, they are all good. They are very mass appealing fragrances. One of them is a little bit, I think, out there a little bit, doing something a little bit different, which I like. The performance on them has been a little tougher than I thought. Maybe they don't last as long, but again, I've never been one of those guys that cares too much about that, right? Like I kind of,
right,
I don't need a fragrance to last 15 hours. Like I don't want it to last 15 hours. And usually what I find is the
right,
ones that do last 15 hours are the ones that smell the most synthetic, and like they smell like chemicals 15 hours later. So I'm okay with that.
right.
It doesn't bother me. I will say one thing, man, that the brand owners for this, Chris and his family and the people that are starting, they are legitimately good people. Like
That's awesome.
I've got a lot of examples that confirm this. And Yeah. So like they are a fun brand to support just because of how great they are. And I'll tell more about that one day, just about some of the things that yeah, I've had conversations with Chris and Teddy the perfumer and some of them, but I really believe in that brand. And so yeah, I'll be happy. I'm gonna send this to you. And that's a way to thank you just for being here tonight too and for being so good to me. One of the things I've heard in the chat too, you were many of our first um exposure to this community. You were one of the first people that I even got. I mean, I think I've told you, you were one of the first people that when I got on this platform and I was clicking in boxes, like, oh, who's this guy? And you were one of my first, the first people to expose me to this community. And I've heard several people in the chat say the same thing. So, brother, thank you for setting a
Really,
good example because I think that's pretty cool too.
man, I don't know what to say. That's incredibly flattering. Again, just to know that there were people out there that wanted to listen to any message that I had, that I was able to resonate with people in some way. Um, I don't know what to say.
Yeah,
I never anticipated this.
Wasn't it funny how that works though? Because I mean, I think about life all the time like this. I'm a professor, right? I teach some. I mean, I'm not a full time professor. I'm an administrator, but I teach classes. And you would be shocked how many students come to me later and say, "Man, I will never forget this thing that you said to me in my class." And I'm sitting there racking my brain, like, "What the hell did I say on that crazy Wednesday when I'm trying to teach them about something business?" And they'll tell me back, and I'm like, God, I was pretty smart that day. Like that sounded pretty good. I don't think I said it that way, but great. I'm glad I did. But you just never know what you say that people are going to take, and that's one of the reasons why. Jeff, thank you, brother. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Jeff.
And that's one of the things that we just never really truly know the impact of our words and kind of the impact we can have on others. And I think that's a real takeaway, I think, from this conversation and from this community that we just have to be careful with that, but also have to know that we probably have a greater impact on people than we even realize.
Yeah, I would agree. And I will say this, especially for you people that do a lot of live streams and you're the host of the live streams. And I say this because this did happen in one of my live streams probably 5 months ago. A kid got on and he was malevolent right off the bat. Didn't have a lot of great things to say, was argumentative, was putting people down. And for those of you that have been in my live streams, you know that when someone gets into my live streams, whether they're a troll or they just have a bad attitude, I like to engage with those people because I want to know where it's coming from. I want to know why it's happening. So I engaged with this kid. And after about 15, 20 minutes there wasn't a lot of people in the chat, but after about 15 or 20 minutes, he was opening up a little bit. I could see his guard down. And he started talking about his favorite fragrances. And he started talking about fragrances that he wanted to try. And he asked my opinion on a few of them. And we got a pretty good banter going. And I didn't really think anything of it. And I got off live stream. And probably 30 minutes later, this kid sends me a private message. And he says, "Hey, I want to thank you for not booting me, not getting argumentative with me, not calling me names, anything like this. I'm having family issues. My dog just died. I wanted to get on someplace and just have a place to put it. And you treated me with respect, and I just wanted to thank you." And he ended up buying some decants from me, and just a really good kid that was in the wrong place, the wrong time, and just had grief and anger and didn't have anywhere to put it. And I was just the first face that he saw. So if you're a host on these streams and you get people like this, and I'm not saying it's cookie cutter for everybody, but sometimes do a little digging and find out what the root is, because these could just turn into be people that are reaching out for a little bit of help or a little bit of acknowledgement or a little bit of love, and they don't have it, but you can give it to them. And this is part about being the community that we should be and supporting each other, whether they're in our community or not. Everyone is human. We're all going through shit. So just treat people with respect and love. And I don't know where we fell short of love thy neighbor, but we have got to get back to that. we are in a world of hell right now, and we really need to get back to embracing community, not just us, community, everybody, brothers and sisters everywhere.
And 100% right. I couldn't agree more. And I think also to be open to people that have different opinions. Like it's okay to see the world a little bit differently. We all have unique experiences. That's one of the things again in my university work is, I really try to encourage people to have conversations with people that see the world a little bit differently than they do. It's the only way that we learn, and it doesn't mean that you can be agreeable without agreeing, right? You don't have to, you don't
Right.
have to change your opinion, but you can be good about it and be nice and kind about it and be human about it. And I think that is something we've got to get back to. And so yeah, I think you're 100% right. Oh, thank you, Steve, man, thank you, brother. That's something that agree to disagree, Scott. Yeah, it's exactly right. You don't agree to disagree with me. You just mean we need to agree to disagree. Yeah, that's right. No, that's 100%. We
Yes.
can all agree to disagree to agree that Mont Blanc Legend is Elixir 2026. The fifth flanker is overdone. But no, well said. And I appreciate you bringing that piece up. I do think it's important. It is good advice for people.
Of course. So let me ask you, Dino, what is your end game with fragrances? What are you looking to gain out of this?
That is a great freaking question. That I've even thought about even as I was preparing your questions. I was actually asking myself the same thing. And thank you for the ball cap. Toby, I appreciate you, brother. For me, honestly, I'm enjoying the heck out of this, just having these conversations. And I think that I have this weird place where I'm able to ask in a different format some of these questions that do make us more human, and we can, because everything on this platform, unfortunately, is quick, quick, quick.
Yeah.
It's not the long form, and I honestly will tell you, I don't know if I'm gonna have a long lifespan on TikTok. I'm trying out, I've got an IG page, I've got a Tube of You page, and part of me thinks, well, maybe I belong on those platforms a little bit more because they're a little bit more long form, and this, you don't have to deal with some of the things. But I like the community lives that we do on Saturday morning. I love when we bring up people from all different, from every different part of this kind of fragrance journey. We have perfumers, we have, collectors, we have enthusiasts. We have everybody that's that's in the community, and that is a lot of fun to do on Saturdays. But I really enjoy these Wednesday shows where we can really dive deeper and have a conversation. Like that's what I think jazzes me up. Saturdays are fun for me. Like they're just a lot of
Mhm.
fun, right? Like, but this is kind of
Yeah.
where I really love because I always feel like I learned something, and I always feel like it transcends just fragrance. Like fragrance is the reason why we're all here, and we tie that in. But there's a lot more that we learn about this, and so I don't know the answer. It's a really good question. I'm gonna keep soul searching to figure out what it is, but I know right now I'm having fun, and I know that I'm meeting a lot of great people, and I have somehow been able to stay out of the fray of the craziness that kind of goes on in the community, and I've kind of been a
Oh,
nice
for
neutral
sure.
party, and I like that because I feel like I'm just kind of maybe I'm too Pollyanna, but I feel like I'm kind of like I'm everybody's friend, right? Like I'm just here to, just here to smell things and to promote people no matter where they are. I mean, there have probably been some brands that I will bring on. There'll be people I interview that people will be like, why the heck is he interviewing that person or what, whatever it might be. But I believe that we all have a place in the space, and even Flow State Fragrance has a place in this space. And, and so part of me thinks, oh gosh, thank you, Steve. And I think that, I've got to figure out where I'm going, but I just know that as long as I keep having conversations like this and meeting people like you, then I think I'm doing something that's worthwhile.
Yeah. Well, you're an asset to the community, Dean. And again, I've said it before and I'll say it again of everyone that could have taken the podcast broadcast to the next level. You're the perfect person for that. And I just know this is going to get bigger than I could have imagined. And I'll be honest, I've seen a couple of the posers that have come in and tried to do this thing, and more power to them. But I love your format. I just think you're the perfect vessel for this.
Well, thank you, and thank you guys for being so supportive, and it's been a lot of fun. It's oh, Siren, that's a good question. AI influencers, I don't follow a lot of AI type of influencers, to be completely honest with you. Because again, I think it's about the community, right? It's about the people. Like, I'm not saying that we don't all use AI to kinda help us out a little bit with scripts and certain things. You gotta kinda learn what works for you and what helps you, but doesn't like, I don't like when you're just reading scripts from from
Yeah.
ChatGPT because we all can tell when someone's doing that. Like, we all know it's just
Yes.
not the way people
Yeah.
talk, right? I think it's helpful in some ways to kinda speed things up. Some of them are pretty good at pretending, and you are right about that, and I think it's only gonna get harder, and I think this is a conversation again, Siren, that we're having, um, yeah, at the university every day, right? I mean, it's something that our students are using, and it's something our professors are using. We're all kind of learning how we're going to exist in this space, and people always want to make it out to be this big existential crisis. And I always tell them, I pull out the calculators the first thing I do, and I say, "What do you think this thing did to the world when when we started using this calculator for the first time? How much did it change?" The way we were ever going to learn and what was going to happen and what happens when we had spreadsheets and we stopped doing things on paper, like all the accounting that we used to do on
Mhm.
paper. We started using spreadsheets. How much did that change the world? Like AI is just another thing that we're going to um, continue to learn and continue to work with. Um, but it does bring up a really good point about what I've seen a lot of videos out there that look very, very real. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how we manage that going forward.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer. It's a tough one. I think it's something we're all gonna have to figure out. A
Yeah, I
big issue.
agree.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
Steve's an attorney. He knows. He deals with it all the time in the legal space. That's crazy.
what about you, Joe? Do you have any life advice quotes that you would care to give your audience or that you've given your pupils?
There's a lot of them. And I'm still learning too. Like I'm a work in progress too. But I think that one of the biggest things for me that I kind of encourage people to do in the higher ed space too is that for students that like it's not so much about like a 4-year degree or about whatever you're doing. Like the main thing is that you're committed to lifelong learning. Like one of the things I love about this platform is I've met individuals who are in their 60s, in their 70s, and they are learning a new platform. Like they are learning TikTok or they are learning, whatever video editing. Like they have a constant thirst to learn. And I think that is so amazing. And that's something for me that like I want to be able to mimic. Like I've seen a lot of people retire and they're like, "Hey, look, I don't want to learn that next new thing, right? Like I've worked a whole career. I don't want to learn that next thing." I love people that take a chance and say, "Hey, you know what? I'm not going to get fall behind. It's gonna be a lot harder for me to learn it, but I'm gonna try." And so for me, I think that's the thing I encourage people to do is, hey, look, you're gonna as long as you have an ability to learn, relearn, unlearn, relearn again, retool yourself. I think that's where college has it a little bit wrong. I think we need to really kind of focus on lifelong learning. We always say it's lifelong learning, but I don't we haven't really set up the system that way. We're like, hey, you're in college for 2 years and for 4 years, and then you've learned everything you need to learn and you're good. You can go off into the world. Well, I don't think that's right. I think that it's more about like, hey, you're in college for 2 years, you get a certificate, you get whatever, you start a job. Now you want to learn, you want to come back and take a couple other classes because now you're about to take that next career jump, right? Or you want to retool or you want to reskill or you want to go in a different area. And I think that we need to change the model of the credit hour. I mean, the credit hour alone, like nobody knows where the hell a credit hour came from. Like a credit hour was something that was really, if you go back in time, like had something to do with like TIA Cref way back in the day. They had to figure out a way to like figure out how they were going to do like educational hours for like pension plans, and that's where a credit hour came from. It's like, no, if we were designing this thing today, we would never design it that way, right? And so we just have to really rethink. And I think higher ed's going through a big change right now, and I think education in general is. And we gotta help people find their path, whatever it is. Not everyone needs college. We've said that a million times, and we've swung way too far in one direction years ago when we kind of scared everybody that was in my generation. Like if you don't go to college, you're going to be flipping hamburgers for the rest of your life. That was the thing everybody used to say. Well, that was crap. like that. There are really good professions out there in the trades that are doing amazing things out there. And I know those of you that tuned in for fragrance are probably like, well, I didn't come for a higher ed lesson, but you're getting one. So we've got to do a better job of really understanding that everybody has a pathway, and we need to get them on a pathway, and their pathways are going to look very different, and that is completely okay. And so I just encourage people to be open to the paths that are out there, because everyone has a plan. Everyone thinks things are going to go a certain way, and life hits them. And you've got to be able to adapt and roll with things. And so that's kind of the advice I give to people, is I try to help them understand that that is going to happen, and that is normal, and that is okay. And you just have to figure out where you're going to pivot to next, because the pivot is where the magic happens. And so I don't know if that's a quote, but that's what I would say.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a lot of words for that, but Ballcap, brother, it is about 11:30 on the East Coast time. I have got to get up at 5 in the morning, and I literally could stay on this live all freaking night, and I want to, but I have got to get up in the morning. And you told me we have to prioritize our life, right? You mentioned that in the very beginning. We got to make those decisions to prioritize, and so I'm probably going to call it a night here soon. But before I do that, I want to Dina Burgers. That's funny. McDonald's is where the magic happens. That's a good point. Good point. But I'm not going to rush this next part. I want you to have the last word, my friend. I want you to anything you want to share with the people. But before I do that, I just want to thank you for making time in this space to come on and update us. We are so happy. I speak for everybody. I'm going to. We speak for everybody when we say how proud we are of you, and what a great example you were to really be able to get through tough times, and to really kind of get to another side. Um, I just want to say thank you for doing that and being so kind in this community.
I appreciate that a lot, Dean. I really do. And I'm so happy you asked me to come on and be a part of this. It's like I said when we started, it's kind of weird being on the opposite side of this from when I was doing the podcast broadcast. But any last words from me? I just have just a deep. I want to deeply say thank you to everybody that if they've reached out to you in terms of this broadcast, wanting to know how I was doing, if they haven't messaged me, just to let everyone know I'm well, and I'm here, and I'm still active in the community, but you're not going to see me. It just means a lot to me that I've had so many people that follow and have commented and engaged in my live streams, and just even have listened to a fraction of what I say, or reviews I've done, or recommendations I've given. It makes me feel like I'm being heard. And for someone like me that hasn't had a lot of that in my life, on a personal level, not to get too much into that, but it's nice to be in a community where people have a little bit of respect for what it is that you do. And again, I keep going back to this. I'm not the GOAT. I'm not the best influencer. I'm not even an influencer. I'm not. I was a live streamer that made a couple of crappy videos. So, if this is your passion, then follow it, but let it stay a passion, and stay in it for the right reasons, and don't get too entwined in all the fragrance drama that's going on. Who's, these people are battling these people, or whoever, whatever. There's just a lot of crap. So stay focused on what it is you do. The bee doesn't waste its time trying to convince the fly that honey is better than shit. So stay in your lane, do what you do, stay in your community, engage in your community, and help people, and continue to grow. I can't stress it enough to be kind and caring, and not just in this community, but in your personal community, your home, your family, anyone that you engage with. Um, just spread love. I know we hear that a lot, and I still commend Blake for doing that. Stop the hate movement, but I don't think the message is any less now than it was then. I still think we need to keep that mindset. But yeah, I mean, this is flattering. It really, really is. I love everyone in the chat that has stepped in to engage tonight and ask questions and be a part of this. Continue to support Dean and help him grow this to something that's bigger and goes wider than it is now. I really hope that's the case. So if you guys want to get in touch with me, you can private message me. Otherwise, I wish everybody well. I hope everyone gets everything that you want to get, that you're striving for. Just continue to work. And Dean, you're a good friend. I love you, brother. Thank you for the samples. I'll send you a private message when we get off here. Thank you again for having me. This was fun. It was fun. It was great to see you.
Well, you're more than welcome. It is so good to see you smile. It is so good to see the weight off your chest and to see you doing better. That is the highlight of anything for me, brother. So I know that I speak for a lot of people when I say that. So you keep living a great life, brother. You know, owe nothing to anybody, but I will say this. If you do decide that you want to ever come back on this show to talk about anything, you reach out. You've got an open invitation to be here, brother. You are here anytime you want to talk, anytime you want to come into a live. You just let me know, because we would always love to see you, and hopefully we can catch up again sometime, because I know this community cares about you, brother. So you keep doing great stuff, and you keep having you just keep working, brother. I'm so happy to see you smile. I want to keep see. I'm so glad that we got you on here, and I know a lot of us are.
I appreciate that, Dean. I love you, brother.
Love you too, brother. Hey, guys in the chat, thank you so much. Thank you for all the gifts. Thank you for everything you've done. We're here every Wednesday night, 10 o'clock. So make sure that you set a reminder. Usually on Sunday, I'll put out who we're going to be talking to the next week. And we're always here Saturday morning, 10 a.m. for FragTalk Live Weekend Edition. That's kind of the community show where everyone is welcome. So make sure you share that with people. You come in, we hop into boxes, we talk about what we picked up this week, what's new, what's out there, kind of just catching up with people about life in fragrance. So those are the two opportunities for now. Thank you for everyone who gave gifts. Thank you for everyone who shared the live and liked the live. I can't thank you enough. Please make sure that you continue to share this out. It will be up on the tube of you tomorrow. So if you missed any of this interview, I hope you'll go back and watch the rest of it to be able to catch all the great nuggets that Ballcap left us with. It was a great interview, and I can't wait to keep watching this. You guys have a great night. Thank you so much, and hey, we'll see you next week.